Hello everyone, I'm Euline Schmid, and I'm a professor at the English department of the University of Education Schwäbisch in Germany, and this is the title of my presentation, a classroom-based investigation into pre-service EFL teachers' evolving understandings of plurilingual pedagogy in foreign language education. Before introducing my research project, I'd like to briefly set the context of my study. In the last decades, the applied linguistics literature has increasingly pointed out that current approaches to language teacher education tend to support the development of conceptualizations of languages as compartmentalized units. In order to tackle this issue, several researchers have called for the design and investigation of new models of language teacher education with the potential to shape teachers' professional identities that extend beyond the stance of being one language teachers towards a focus on plurilingualism. The literature has also discussed important knowledge, skills, and attitudes that teachers need to develop in order to be able to incorporate plurilingual-inspired pedagogies into their practice. At the level of knowledge, some authors have pointed to key foundational concepts, such as the familiarity with current research on multilingualism and plurilingual competence, and the knowledge of core linguistic concepts for the analysis and comparison of languages. At the skills level, researchers have discussed the essential role and the need for practical training, focusing on the development and evaluation of language learning tasks that require the use of multiple languages. At the attitudinal level, the literature has called for increased sensitivity towards linguistic and cultural diversity and an asset-oriented perspective of multilingual learners and their resources. In order to support the development of such competences, researchers have highlighted the key role played by self-reflective, situated practice in allowing trainees to be actively engaged in educational practice, forming communities of practice, and having opportunities to reflect and theorize based on their own learning. These researchers have also pointed out that collaboration between researchers, pre- and in-service teachers is key for advancing research in this area. This paper presents findings of a classroom-based study that aimed at contributing to this evolving research field. The project was implemented in two main phases. The first phase focused on the investigation of undergraduate course module on plurilingual English as a foreign language education, which was implemented once a year within a 3-year period. The second phase involved a classroom-based investigation focusing on pre-service, in-service teacher collaboration. Basically, following the completion of their course on plurilingual education, the pre-service teachers applied their newly acquired knowledge in new classroom scenarios in the subsequent academic semester. These are the research questions addressed in the study. Research question number 1. What are the new competencies that EFL teachers need to acquire in order to be able to integrate plurilingual-inspired pedagogies into their practice? Question 2. What kind of knowledge base do they need to develop? Question 3. What kind of support is mostly needed by them as they construct this knowledge base? The study used a collaborative action research framework and a case study approach to collect qualitative data on pre-service teachers' cognition development. The research investigated the professional development paths of 5 pre-service English as a foreign language teachers as they learned how to translate concepts of plurilingualism and plurilingual education studied at university into their situated practice in schools. 5 case studies were conducted in 4 primary schools and 1 secondary school in Germany. In accordance with the principle of situated collaborative learning, the 5 pre-service teachers were paired with in-service teachers to design, implement, and evaluate at least 4 45-minute plurilingual-inspired EFL lessons organized around a teaching unit. Research data were collected by a variety of ethnographic research instruments, such as classroom observations and field notes, video recording of school lessons, in-depth interviews with pre- and in-service teachers, pre-service teachers' reflective journals, anonymous questionnaires, and focus group interviews with learners. Throughout their case studies, the pre-service teachers wrote reflective journals, eventually compiled into individual reflective reports, focusing on critical incidents that they experienced in their fieldwork activities, and each case study lasted in average 2 months, and they were implemented within a 3-year period. Brown and Clark's reflexive thematic analysis process was used to interpret the data. This paper focuses specifically on only one overarching theme that was generated in response to the research questions numbers 1 and 2, namely challenges concerning the design of plurilingual tasks. This theme was chosen because of its prominence in the 5 case studies and because of its key significance in shedding light on the pre-service teachers' evolving understandings of plurilingual-inspired pedagogies, with a specific focus here on task design and task implementation. The undergraduate course and subsequent situated practice place a special emphasis on task-based language teaching, TBLT, for 2 main reasons. First, TBLT is currently one of the main language teaching methods used in German schools. Secondly, the recent literature on plurilingual education has identified good task design as a key element for the successful implementation of plurilingual-inspired pedagogies. Several researchers have pointed to the importance of helping teachers to acquire skills for the development of authentic and meaningful plurilingual tasks. Picardo, 2016, for example, notes, in a plurilingual perspective, the learner engages collaboratively in real-life tasks that require his or her agency in strategically employing all resources available, linguistic and non-linguistic, implying a variety of languages and codes, to solve a problem, to accomplish a mission. The achievement of the goal is the driving force of the action, followed by a reflective metalinguistic phase. Based on this definition, a plurilingual task is understood in this study as a language learning activity that requires or allows the use of multiple languages and diverse cultural knowledge, and creates opportunities for learners to engage in meaningful communication using their whole plurilingual repertoire. In line with the principles of self-reflective situated practice, the pre-service teachers were provided with numerous opportunities to exercise agency and autonomy. Therefore, space was made for independent decision-making, and the pre-service teachers were expected to assume complete responsibility for the final versions of their lessons. Due to a dearth of educational resources in this area, most of the teaching materials were produced by the pre-service teachers from scratch and without much access to useful modeling tasks that matched their context. As a result, one of the main challenges the pre-service teachers encountered in their projects concerned the design of effective and meaningful plurilingual tasks. In the following slides, I'm going to share a snapshot of the reflective processes of one of the pre-service teachers regarding this issue. I will call her Teacher 2. One of the initial strategies for materials design used by the pre-service teachers was the adaptation of teaching materials they had already used in the context of their university course. In the following extract, Teacher 2 reflected on her learning process. She wrote, "We looked at some tasks, for example, the I love you task. That's why I had this idea of doing more languages. But then I just discovered that for the pupils, it's just more difficult. Even though the words really look almost exactly the same, it was difficult for them. I don't know why. Maybe there were just too many words, or they didn't know the approach. They were like, I don't know what to do. What is this? I don't get it. So that was my second lesson. That was a total mess. I completely changed it then and did it differently in the third lesson." In this sequence, Teacher 2 referred to a plurilingual exercise that she designed as part of a teaching unit entitled Breakfasts Around the World, aimed for third graders in a primary school. As Teacher 2 pointed out in line 2, she based her design on a published plurilingual modeling task that was discussed in one of the university seminar sessions. In this task, the learners are exposed to the expression I love you in 12 languages and are guided to reflect on the similarities and differences among these languages through questions. Following the same design elements of this model task, Teacher 2 created an exercise in which the pupils were provided with word cards of 5 lexical items: toast, jam, coffee, yogurt, and orange juice, in different languages, and were supposed to match them to the appropriate language on their worksheet. As noted by Teacher 2, this activity was not well received by the student, who had difficulties to understand its purpose and its benefit. The data have shown that in all 5 case studies, the pre-service teachers reflected on pupils' negative responses to decontextualized plurilingual exercises focusing on cross-language comparisons. They used their pupils' feedback and responses to reflect critically on the possible impact of such activities on their students' learning. In an interview sequence, for example, T2 speculated that these types of exercises can be counterproductive in the sense that they could even help to create negative attitudes towards other languages and other cultures. These results prompted the pre-service teachers to reflect on the importance of designing authentic tasks that create opportunities for the pupils to contribute with different elements of their linguistic repertoires based on their own choices and interests. They noted that this approach could give learners agency over choice of linguistic resources, thus allowing plurilingual practice to emerge naturally within the group. Teacher 2, for instance, noticed that in her teaching, the best opportunities for metalinguistic reflection were created when the pupils were emotionally involved in meaningful plurilingual tasks that triggered their thinking about languages. In the following extract, she reflected on another activity she designed. The activity prompted learners to describe their favorite breakfast in written and spoken form and to draw a flag or a combination of flags that symbolize the type of breakfast. She stated, "By letting students draw their favorite breakfast, they were emotionally involved. Expressing preference is a typical topic in primary classrooms, favorite animals, favorite hobbies, etc. However, the task also requires students to identify the country or the countries that their favorite breakfast items came from." In other parts of her reflections, Teacher 2 noted that learners' emotional involvement with the task translated into stronger engagement, which prompted them to ask genuine questions about language and culture. Even though the use of flags in this task could be seen as problematic due to possible associations to the one nation, one culture concept, the discussions that ensued after the activity supported a broader view of culture and its processes. The findings discussed in this presentation have shown that the situated practice opportunities triggered cognitive conflicts that led the pre-service teachers to rethink their practice and their roles in plurilingual education. The data indicate that by attempting to provide their own solutions to the challenges they faced, the pre-service teachers developed a more nuanced understanding of the nature, benefits, and challenges of plurilingual education. For instance, the pre-service teachers were sensitized to the importance of authenticity and meaningfulness in the design of plurilingual tasks. However, due to the short duration of the case studies, the main impact of the teacher education program was at the attitudinal level. The 5 pre-service teachers concluded their projects with the willingness to continue learning beyond graduation in order to be able to implement plurilingual inspired pedagogy successfully in their future practice. The analysis of the research data also confirms the value of teacher cognition research in shedding light on language teachers' evolving understandings of innovative concepts and practices. Thank you very much for your attention and for your interest in my work.